Welcome to Family Time. My name is Naoto.
I'm Shin.
We're technically brothers.
We're brothers.
In this video, I'll predict the outcomes of Super RIZIN.4, the Midsummer Fight Festival. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. I guess I should be calling it Super RIZIN, right?
Yeah, something like that.
I got a comment about that, so I was told, and I was like, oh, so that's how it is. I've always called it Cho RIZIN.
Just like that.
It's actually Super RIZIN.
Well, I guess I understand that it's supposed to be Super RIZIN.
Got it. From now on, I'll call it Super RIZIN. Okay. Should we predict the winner of the match? I'm really excited for this tournament. Just like with any martial art, whether it's Ultimate Fighting Championship or boxing, watching the promotions and thinking about how each side might win or how the match will play out makes it more exciting. No matter how amazing the top-level matches are, if I don't watch those promotions, I can't really look forward to them. On the other hand, if I follow everything and watch the promotions, the more I think about how things might turn out, the more I end up looking forward to any match. That's why I've been watching quite a lot.
Because I've been following the matchups and the promotions, I'm really looking forward to it. It seems like it's going to be an interesting event. I'm really curious about how things will turn out in the end. I guess you could call it curiosity. It really piques my interest.
Yeah, that's right. Since there are so many matches, I'm just gonna dive right in.
Got it.
About Shaidoloev, yes, it's been cancelled, and that's the most disappointing part.
Hey Shin, who's your favorite fighter in RIZIN?
Well, my favorite fighter is Shaidoloev, but since it's been cancelled, he'll likely fight Karamov in September.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you watched at least RIZIN Confessions, right?
Yeah, I watched it. I did.
I told you, right? Mikuru Asakura wouldn't fight Shaidoloev.
Oh, is that so?
No, really, did you actually see it?
But Sakakibara Chief Executive Officer said that maybe the winner between Kleber and Asakura could fight Shaiduloev.
Didn't he say something like he preferred Hiramoto?
Well, he did say Hiromoto would be fine too.
Well, I get it, though. They're heading in different directions.
Yeah, it's about which one would be the bigger fight?
No, they're not going to do it. But maybe if Shaidoloev fights Karamov, and Karamov puts up a good fight, and Shaidoloev gets knocked down or takes a lot of damage, then maybe if it's a month later or something, they might do it.
Yeah, that's kind of a risky thing to say, but still they'd probably do it, right?
I don't believe they'll do it. That's my opinion. Well, ideally, after he's gone, he could become champion with the Queen's title or something like that.
Well, if his goal is to become champion, that's definitely the most effective way to do it.
That's why I want to see it. Shaiduloev versus Mikuru Asakura. I think it's nice to be able to cheer for Shaiduloev without any reservations. I'm probably the only person, or at least the only Japanese person, who would cheer for Shaiduloev.
Yeah, that's right. Well, but if Mikuru Asakura participates, there's something about him that makes you think he could win.
Yeah, that's right. So definitely, I want Mikuru Asakura to beat Kleber and then fight Shaiduloev, but probably, it won't happen.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, I've said that before. No, but after the match, we have to see how things go. For example, if Mikuru Asakura knocks out Kleber one-sidedly and goes, wow, I'm this strong.
We'll discuss outcome predictions later, but if he wins decisively and realizes his strength, he might believe he can take on Shaiduloev. If he starts thinking that himself, I think he'll go for it.
I'd really love to see that.
It would be a big match, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be a big match.
So then what? Would that be Mikuru Asakura's third title challenge?
Yeah, that's right. Definitely.
They say third time's the charm, so that would be kind of interesting too. Even if Karamov wins, I could fight Karamov, but honestly, I'm not too thrilled about that either. Yeah, you're right. That might actually be worse. I think that would actually be a tougher matchup for me. So that's why I've been saying for a while now that there's no one in RIZIN who can beat Shaiduloev. Well, it's a bit hopeless, isn't it?
That's what I think. So if I'm gonna fight someone, I think Mikuru Asakura would be the most exciting. Also, as the only one supporting Shaiduloev, I'm actually looking forward to this quite a bit.
Especially on YouTube. I don't think there's anyone supporting Shaiduloev.
Yeah, I actually like these kinds of knockout type fighters, and he's a bit different from Karamov.
Yeah, he's different.
I really like this kind of style, but we won't get to see it this time. I think Shaidoloev will probably fight in September, though. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so next, well, I say next, but what is this? Oh, the match order is already decided. So Taiga versus Kyriaki. Honestly, I don't mind who wins between them. Either one is fine. Then there's Naoki. If you watch kickboxing, you probably know, but in Rise, he's beaten Shiratori twice, which is pretty amazing. And now that he's doing mixed martial arts, he's got 2 straight knockout wins. Well, maybe 1 or 2, I'm not sure.
But somehow...
I get the impression that he's doing really well.
So it's not his mixed martial arts debut fight. It's not his debut fight. He debuted and won his first match by knockout, then fought again after that. I don't remember the exact records. A long time ago, I practiced with Naoki at Palestra, right? We did an interview and practiced together. I remember his straight punches were really good, and before Mad Dog and Shinozuka Tatsuki fought. Yeah, it was before that, before their match.
Yeah, that's right. And if I remember correctly, he won by knockout with a low kick, didn't he? One of them won by a landslide decision. That Mad Dog did.
Yeah, I remember that he won pretty convincingly.
Yeah, Naoki-san was a nice guy. The Mad Dog had a bit of a bad attitude.
He was kind of like a mad dog.
He was like a dog with a bit of a bad attitude.
He was just like I imagined, you know, like, oh, that's exactly how I pictured him. But it was before the match, and everyone gets tense before a match, so that's totally normal. That's totally fine, no problem at all. And besides, it was sparring day, so I'm sure everyone was a bit more fired up.
Yeah, I really wasn't saying it as an insult at all. Actually, I think it's good that what you see is what you get. So, well, I don't really know much about this, but I hope Naoki-san does his best.
Yes.
Okay, then shall we start with the tournament? The first match is Hiroya versus Motoya, huh?
Oh, it's the first match.
Yeah, it seems so.
That means it'll start with a bang, right?
Yeah. What do you think?
Well, I wonder what the odds will be for this.
Huh? It's pretty one-sided. Well, that's to be expected, right? 1.2 for Motoya, 3.5 for Hiroya. I thought Hiroya would get a bit more support and his odds would go up a little, but, well, I guess this is how it turns out. Oh, but the fact that he's dropping down to flyweight, that's probably why.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, though.
It's your first time in the flyweight division in 9 years.
How should I put this? Well, age is a factor, so it's a bit tough, but basically, there aren't many cases where dropping down a weight class works out. Still, there are some who succeed, right? For example, in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, there's Jose Aldo. He's a veteran who's gotten older, but he managed to drop down successfully and put on a good performance there.
That's true.
Yeah, physically he's on the bigger side, but he didn't really have that super ripped look, you know, Yuki Motoya.
Yeah, he didn't really look super ripped, did he? So I think he can do it, but I don't really know what kind of performance he'll show.
He did beat Akimoto and Shinobu Ota, so, you know, Hiroya has that going for him. Recently, he beat Tatsuki Shinozuka, and that was pretty impressive. But even so, I think there's still a pretty big gap in their levels. Whether it's striking or on the ground, I feel like with Hiroya, what do you guys think? Is he known for his striking, or is his strength in grappling or wrestling? I'm not really sure. But my impression is that his biggest strengths are his physical stamina and his mentality.
Physical strength?
Yeah. That's why he got that comeback knockout win with the high kick.
Yeah.
It was Joe Arai, right? Yeah. Was that also in the second round? I think it was the second round. He was getting beaten up, but turned it around. So his strongest points are his mental toughness and the physical strength and toughness that let him stay standing and fight until he could get that knockout win. That's his main characteristic. But honestly, I can't really think of anything else.
Also, he has beautiful, well-defined muscles.
Yeah, right. He probably has the best body in this flyweight tournament if he wins. But that's about it, I think. Is there something else?
But having a strong body is quite an advantage in mixed martial arts, isn't it?
No, I think you can't do it unless you have a strong body.
Something that important, yeah.
Well, strength is different from how you look. I mean, Motoya has the kind of physical strength to go up against Shinobu Ota, so that puts him on a whole different level from Hiroya, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I think, yeah. But, I'm probably gonna catch heat for this. But Hiroya isn't really that good at striking.
Well, he's not Ren Hiramoto, you know? If he had a kickboxing match, it probably wouldn't go very well for him.
So I was really surprised that he managed to knock out Joe Arai. But, I always pay attention to striking, and while mixed martial arts striking is a bit different, his style is pretty one-dimensional, you could say. My impression of Hiroya is that he comes in aggressively, throws one or two straight shots, and then immediately backs straight out. Also, to get a bit technical, his back foot is really flat on the ground, which puts him at a disadvantage when it comes to striking.
Yeah, his kicking foot, you know?
Yeah, I wonder why that is. I notice it quite a lot when I watch him.
But yeah, that's true. I want everyone to pay attention to this the next time you watch a match, any match. Especially with Ultimate Fighting Championship fighters who are good at striking, their heels are definitely off the ground.
The back foot isn't flat on the ground. Yeah, it's hard to explain what flat-footed really means. It's not completely flat, but the toes are pointing this way and the back foot is like this, so the front foot points this way and the inside of the back foot kind of collapses inward. Even if your heel is off the ground like this, you still can't step forward well for a kick, so it's not really good for striking, especially when you want to move forward. It's not ideal. With wrestling, well, I don't really think that's the case. I'm not too sure, but for example, if you look at Motoya, his stance is proper like this.
I see.
That's something you often see with beginners. For example, if you look at Shinobu Ota, I think his core is probably unstable. So basically, just by looking at someone's stance, balance, and feet, you can get a sense of how good their striking is, even if they're not actually throwing punches. So is Hiroya outstriking Motoya? Outstrike is an English word, isn't it? I can't really imagine him winning with striking.
It feels like he has to take advantage of a moment when the other guy lets his guard down.
He does have the ability to pull off a comeback knockout or turn things around, and because he has a strong will, he has the ability to make that happen until the very end. So there's always a chance, but still it's a bit...
Well, it's just that one chance, right? Out of 100 chances, it's just that one shot.
But in the end, it's just about winning this one time. Still, if I had to choose, I'd go with Yuki Motoya.
The odds are saying the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. What about here, Naoto?
I think Hiroya will win.
Because he's a huge fan. Being a huge fan is a good thing, isn't it? Hiroya, if you win, I'll buy his shirt for you. I'll buy a t-shirt for Naoto. Yeah, that's fine.
Alright, let's do that.
You've already joined the Japan Top Team anti-group.
No, wait a minute. That's a bit harsh.
I think you'll probably be liked by the aunties.
Well, to be honest, I'm usually liked by aunties.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes I do live shows with music and, well, I have the most fans among aunties. I see. Because I have a gentle face. So wear that Japan Top Team Hiroya shirt. Get friendly with those Japan Top Team ladies and then bring them to your own live show. It's true, I'm a fan of Hiroya, so Hiroya, good luck, I'm cheering for you. But on top of that energy, well, he's young, and lately his physical strength has been pretty impressive, right?
Well, he's been training in America for a few months, and that growth has definitely been a plus. The question is just how much of a plus it's been, how much he's really picked up, and of course it's a positive, but it's about how much he can actually show in the fight. For example, when a wrestler works on improving their striking, it's not like they can suddenly show it off right away. Sometimes it takes years before you finally see it in a match, and you never really know when that timing will come. Of course, there are some people who can pick it up quickly too. For example, Ultimate Fighting Championship champion John Jones is the type who can watch something like an anime once and then imitate it, but that's pretty rare.
That's something special.
So that's something to look out for, in my opinion. I think Motoya will advance. So depending on what kind of performance he shows here, it will determine whether he can win the championship or not. And also, it's true that Hiroya went to America.
He went to America and trained with former champions like Garbrandt, so whether that makes him stronger or not, well,
He'll probably get stronger.
but I think it'll give him confidence.
Yeah.
No doubt about practicing with those kinds of monsters and going in with a fired up attitude is what it's all about. Also, I think the environment in America is a bit more intense, you know? The relationships between people there really help build confidence.
Well, it's an environment where you can focus 100% on martial arts, you know? Like, you can ignore all the drama here and messages from friends and just concentrate on martial arts, which is a huge advantage. As a Hiroya fan, he's really looking forward to that. But just to crush a bit of that hope, Motoya also moved to American top team, right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's right.
And the period is even longer.
But what's interesting is that everyone completely ignores that, and for me, the most mysterious part is those few months when Hiroya is training in America. Yes, that's right, but I think it's about youth, isn't it? When young people suddenly change their environment, the speed at which they change is different. Growth is even faster. Yeah, so in that sense, Motoya is fighting at flyweight for the first time in 9 years, so there's some concern about how he'll do and whether his condition will be okay. On the other hand, Hiroya has the momentum and confidence to move up, so if those things come together, I think he might have 1, 2, or even 3 chances. What do you think?
Yeah, that's right. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Then, with my support in mind, I'll go with Hiroya winning by decision.
I think Motoya might win by submission.
Either way, the match will be exciting and the crowd will go wild.
No, I feel like if Motoya wins, the place might actually go silent.
Alright, shall we move on to the next one? Jose Torres versus Hiromasa Uchikubo. That's impressive. Choosing the strongest one.
Well, he is a favorite to win after all. He even beat Makoto Shinryu. But that was at 59 kilograms, so it was 2 kilograms heavier. I watched that fight too, and I could really see that the size difference gave Torres an advantage. Just those extra 2 kilograms, I'm not sure if it was a last-minute decision or what. I don't really remember the details, but he definitely looked a size bigger.
Well, there does seem to be a bit of an issue with Jose Torres' weight. Before entering this tournament, he said he wouldn't come because he couldn't make weight. But now it seems like he's going to participate.
Well, that's just a rumor, so we don't really know for sure yet.
Well, I don't really know, though.
He wasn't initially in the event, so he wasn't cutting weight. Then he was suddenly added, which is tough. The opposite has happened before too. Since it was decided abruptly, it's challenging for his body, but catch weight isn't an option. What I wanted to say is that the 2 kilogram difference, well, that's between bantamweight and flyweight, right? But in boxing, that's like a whole weight class. And even in kickboxing, that's a whole class difference. So, you know, Shinryu in the versus Shinryu fight, that's a pretty big advantage.
Yeah.
But still, he's strong, so he's really good, right? I actually like Torres' fighting style a lot, but you probably haven't watched him much, have you?
But I thought he has an amazing ability to dodge strikes.
He's the kind of fighter who gradually puts on pressure, but I'm not sure who to compare him to. Maybe if I say he's like a much better boxing version of Chan Hongli, would that make sense? He shifts his position and throws punches, and I think he's really good at taking a hit and then countering. Yeah, he always counters. So even when Shinryu landed shots, he would still block and return fire, or even if he took a hit, he would always counter.
So you just feel like he's really strong, right?
He's insanely strong, and if Uchikubo-san's takedown gets stopped, it's going to be pretty tough. If you just look at the striking, I think Torres is better. Well, he does have a bit of a unique style, though. Uchikubo-san's inside low kicks and, well, his low kicks in general.
He's pretty skillful with his left kicks, isn't he?
Yeah, he's skillful, really skillful. But I wonder how that'll go. I'm not sure. I haven't really seen many people who are capable of putting pressure on Uchikubo-san when they're right in front of him. So I don't know if Torres can actually do that. Well, he was able to push Shinryu back overwhelmingly, but I'm curious what will happen when he's up against Ugikubo-san. That's what I end up thinking. Ugikubo-san is really good with his kicks, but when it comes to his punches, I noticed something while watching the fight yesterday. He has this habit of letting his guard down a bit after he finishes punching. That habit is pretty strong, and honestly, it's a little scary. If you just look at his striking, you can kind of picture it, right? Like punch, 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 punch. Then he goes, ha, or something like that.
He wavers for a moment.
He hesitates briefly, which is what occurs. It's a bit frightening.
That's exactly where Jose Torres is good.
But Jose Torres has to get pretty close, so I wonder if he can even stop the tackle in the first place. That if he stops it and pushes forward with his strikes, Ugikubo-san will have a hard time. On the other hand, if Ugikubo-san can win by grinding it out here, that would be amazing. I really think it would be incredible. That grinding style is intense. It's almost sour. If Ugikubo-san can stick to that style against Torres and win safely, then he's really strong. I honestly want to see that. On the other hand, if he can shut down a top fighter like that in such a boring way, that would be amazing. But I wonder if it's really possible. I think it would be pretty tough. Honestly, I'd be surprised. So if Ugikubo-san can actually pull that off, I'd be really surprised.
Is that so?
If Torres comes in at his best without any weight issues or anything, I think Torres will win.
Torres in good condition.
If Torres comes in good condition, Torres will...
If Torres rebuilds his weight and gets ripped, that's definitely scary, yeah. But the weight class, you know, in this bantamweight division, to pin down someone as big as Naoki Inoue, well, pin down sounds a bit negative, but
physically, Torres and Naoki Inoue are a bit different.
Really?
They're a little different.
But isn't he big? Naoki Inoue, I mean.
Well, but physically, you're kind of losing, aren't you? If anything.
Compared to other fighters.
Like, with Archuleta, he got pushed back by pressure, and it affected him, right? There are fighters like Ugikubo-san who fight that way. And he tends to struggle against them, so I think that's a bit different from Torres.
Well, rather than comparing him to Torres, Ugikubo is just that strong.
Yeah, exactly. So I wonder how it's going to turn out, but of course I'm rooting for Ugikubo-san. But the weight, you know, that really matters.
He's really that strong, huh? For me, if Torres manages to stop a takedown or something, I'd be like, wow, Torres is amazing.
Well, it's true Shinryu got the takedown, but he got back up, kept the pressure on, and I could say he won. His strikes landed, and his low kicks were heavy too. He fights like a pretty experienced striker. Torres throws a lot, but he doesn't waste his shots. He closes the distance properly and only throws when he's in range to land.
It's really interesting when you think about it. So he fights in an energy-efficient way when it comes to striking. That's actually a style I really like. He's tough, physically strong, and has a large frame. He can take hits and hit back hard. His pressure is intense.
Even though he's big, he's not huge, so it's like this.
He has a body type that's hard to take down.
I wonder how it'll go. I'm mainly talking based on Shinyu's matches, so I don't really know about the other fighters, but I just get the feeling he's strong. Still, I think Ugikubo-san will somehow win. I do think it'll go to a decision, but it's not going to be an easy fight. And I don't think it'll end without any trouble, so honestly, I think he probably shouldn't have picked this one.
But on the other hand, for example, if you take out the strongest guy in the first round, then what? You still have to fight again in the second match, right?
No, just one at a time.
One at a time, and then fight twice at the end?
No, just once.
Once? Oh, so just once each for everything. I see, but the intervals are short, right?
Maybe about 2 months, 2 or 3 months.
So rather than facing a tough opponent in those short intervals, it's better to go first, take your time to rest, and then...
No, ideally you'd want someone else to do it instead. Yeah, but they'll probably make it up here anyway, right? But yeah, that's true. But if Torres goes up against someone strong, he might get hurt or be in bad shape. So you might get to fight him when he's in that kind of condition. Maybe. I want to take the easiest way to the top, you know. So For example, let's say Ugikubo-san and Torres fight, and Ugikubo-san wins, but it was a pretty tough match. Then Motoya beats Hiroya in the first round with a submission. If Ugikubo-san and Motoya end up fighting, obviously Motoya would be in a more favorable position, right? That's what I mean.
There are chances like that too.
No, but I'm saying the chances of finishing a fight against Torres without any trouble are pretty low.
So either the second round or the finals with Torres.
No, the second round is definitely better. For example, if he fights Hiroya here, that would be good. Since we'll have to face each other eventually, it's better to meet at the end. If Torres makes it to the top the hardest way, and I make it the easiest way, of course I'll have the advantage.
But that's just a game of chance, right? It's possible that they make it up easily, and I have a tough time getting there.
But even so, choosing the toughest match for myself would be kind of backwards, right?
So, strategically, both are games of chance, but the span between the second and third rounds is short, right? Rather than facing a strong opponent there, it's better to have the longest break and face the toughest guy in the very first match. It's like eating the least tasty food first at a meal.
But in the first place, if you don't do it, there's a chance Torres won't go up, right?
In the end, it all comes down to chance.
When you have the right to choose, you don't pick him. I'm just stating the obvious. Ideally, it would be best to make it to the finals without facing Torres, right? If you're thinking about winning the tournament.
And then the best scenario is to face Torres in the finals.
Well, but Torres might make it to the top all worn out, or maybe the guy who beats Torres will be the one who comes up all worn out instead. Yeah, so that's also possible.
But isn't that the same for me too? So if Torres comes up all worn out, I might be the same way, right? I could be the one who's worn out while the other guy is fresh, so... If I can take someone down in the first round while I'm still at my freshest, and then just keep facing guys weaker than Torres after that, that's another way to win.
No, the order is wrong. Start with the weaker opponents and face the strongest one last, if at all. Ideally, keep facing opponents you can beat. It's not nice to call them weak, but the goal is to keep winning.
Well, I get that that's the ideal.
What I'm saying is, Ugikubo-san had the right to choose this time. He might not have that right next time, so for now, I'm saying it's better not to pick this person.
I see.
I don't really understand Naoto's way of thinking.
Why don't you understand? After this first round, there's the longest break, right?
I don't know about that.
That's why, after having a really tough match in the second round...
But why is it assured that you have to have a really tough match in the second round?
It could turn out that way, right?
It might happen, sure. Yeah, but it's possible that he picked Torres here, and after this, the second round might be tough too, right?
So, having to play a tough match in the second round, well, they're all chances, but this and all of Shin's patterns, they're all chances too. Ideally, moving up like this is also all left to chance. But Torres is probably strong enough to stay, right? I mean, I don't know for sure, but still.
If Torres goes up against Shinryu or Motoya, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, you never know.
There's also a chance that one of them will move up in a rough shape, so the best situation is if everyone else comes up exhausted and I'm the only one who's fresh. That's why Motoya or Shinryu would be the ideal opponents for me. If Ugikubo-san could switch with one of those two at some point, it would make it easiest for him to move up.
Well, so ideally, but in the end, okay, then in the worst case scenario, OG Kubo would fight someone he has a better chance of beating, and Torres too, he would also fight someone he can beat. Then, whether it's the second round or the third round, if he ends up facing Torres in the second round and have a tough fight, with little time to rest before the finals, the worst case scenario would be that a fresh Motoya would have to fight Shinryu in the final.
No, the worst case scenario is getting beaten up and injured here and not being able to continue in the tournament.
That's also a worst case scenario, but if he beat Torres here, he can take my time to rest, and in the second and third rounds, he'll be facing opponents easier than Torres. That means he would have defeated the strongest guy right at the start.
Well, if you can, please let me know in the comments. This could go on forever, but ideally, I still wish someone else would do it instead.
Well, ideally, it would be best to finish the tournament without having to face Torres at all.
Yeah, or even in the finals would be fine. I just want to make it to the finals in the easiest way possible.
Or he could just take him out in the first round and then have an easy time winning the rest. Huh? Don't you really get this way of thinking? Just get the hardest one out of the way first. And then after that,
It's not like he has a mission to do it, you know? He might not do it at all, and that's actually ideal, don't you think?
so I get what you mean by ideal, but that's just leaving everything up to chance. If we're discussing probability, the likelihood of encountering Taurus is quite substantial.
No, it's not high. There's another lottery after the next one, right? If he get the choice again, he still doesn't need to fight him. That's why.
But in the end, the ones who make it to the finals,
Someone, or rather, maybe someone like Motoya or Shinryu will have to do it. There, the two of them will clash, and one of them won't make it through unscathed. So if he faces the winner in the finals, of course he'll have the advantage.
well, whether he makes it through safely or not, in the end, it's all just a matter of chance.
It was a chance, but the point is, he had the right to choose from the very beginning.
So, if we leave it up to chance, maybe Torres will come out completely worn out. Or maybe we should just do it now.
Alright, Naoto, let's decide with this. Naoto, if you were Ogikubo-san, would you choose Torres? Like, since you'll have to face him eventually, would you pick Torres first?
For me, whether I fight Torres in the finals or in the very first match,
But no, it's not even decided that you'll fight him in the finals.
but well, that's why I'm just talking about probabilities.
So it's not decided yet. So you could ignore the whole tournament setup, and if you were Ogikubo-san, would you pick Torres first?
I can understand that way of thinking too.
But you wouldn't pick him, right? You wouldn't pick him.
Well, I guess it depends on how I feel at the time.
I'm saying you would never pick him. You would absolutely never pick him. You'd try to avoid this guy as much as possible.
I see.
So you wouldn't fight?
Well, I do think that for a moment. But if you think about the gap between the second round and the finals, you might understand why someone would choose that.
I see.
When there are a lot of breaks?
No, but isn't the span between the second rounds probably about 2 months, 2 months, 2 months?
2 months, 2 months, 2 months?
We do it in September and then in December, so isn't the span the same?
I see, but don't you fight twice in one day? We don't do that.
We don't. Why, does that make a difference?
Yeah, I think that would make a big difference. If we're fighting twice today, we should take on the strongest one first.
Ah, I see.
Because when you fight back to back, no matter what happens, you'll be facing an easier opponent after that, right?
I see.
That's what I think.
Yeah, got it.
So Ugikubo is doing the exact opposite of a normal tournament structure. He's facing the strongest guy right at the beginning, not in the finals. Then after that, he just keeps moving up more easily and wins the championship.
All right, I get what you're saying, but it doesn't feel exactly right.
So, you're saying it's better to avoid the strong ones as much as possible and just leave it up to chance?
This approach relies heavily on chance, making it quite risky. It's essentially just leaving things up to chance.
If you can get through this part, it'll be much easier after that.
No, and there's also Shinryu and Motoya.
But if Ugikubo chose Shinryu, we wouldn't have this reaction.
Ideally, Ugikubo-san would pick Hiroya or possibly Yuki Ito, but not this person, to be blunt. Ansem, he probably wanted to pick one of those three. That's why, since Shinryu or Motoya have a higher chance of advancing safely, and Motoya, for example, is being picked with the idea that he might win the tournament later. So if you had the right to choose, then next, well, I don't know. But you'd choose the best matchup, while Ojikubo-san would target the strongest opponent now, even if it disadvantages him. If Naoto did that, he'd likely enter the finals badly battered, at least in my opinion.
I see. The next one is by lottery, and after that, it's by bracket.
Well, I wonder how it's really going to be.
It's not all by lottery, right?
There's no way that's the case. But they said the next one will be by lottery. Ogikubo-san will probably pick the strongest guy again, and move up the tournament in the most disadvantageous situation. So in Naoto's way of thinking...
No, I'm just talking about the first round. I see. I'll say it again, but I just want him to fight as many other strong guys as possible.
I just want him to fight other strong guys like Trace, Motoya, or Genie, and try to take out as many strong opponents as possible. Instead of having all the strong guys survive, it's better to have them clash early on. From the outside, that seems really good, you know? For Motoya or Shinryu, from a tournament perspective, that's great. But for the person himself, obviously, it wasn't a good thing.
You won't know until the match is over.
I understand, but you can never be certain.
If Ugikubo wins here like it's nothing, it's gonna be pretty devastating for morale.
Yeah, that's right. If he wins here without taking any damage, he'll be in a really advantageous position. Well, I guess it's not exactly fair to say advantageous, but at least he'll be starting on equal footing with everyone else.
But I think everyone will start to feel like they just can't beat Ugikubo anymore. Ugikubo can beat everyone. Well, I don't know for sure, but that's how it seems. I'm the type who eats the least tasty food first, so maybe it's kind of like that. What about you guys? Do you save the best food for last, or do you eat it first and leave the bitter stuff for later? I feel like it's kind of the same idea.
I see. Well, eating food and a martial arts tournament are a bit different.
They're a bit different, but I thought maybe the way you choose is kind of similar. You pick the one you dislike the most right at the start.
So if you eat the one you dislike, you might end up with a stomachache.
There's that risk too.
If there's that kind of risk, you'd eat it last, right?
Well, I don't really know.
Would you eat it first?
In the first place, you wouldn't want to eat something that might upset your stomach, right?
Yeah, that's why I don't really want to do it with Torres, if I can avoid it.
Yeah.
But you get it, right? Okay, that's a good example. Like I said, this is the one I hate the most, and if I eat this, there's a good chance I'll have a stomachache 5 seconds later. Pretty high chance. So let's save this for last. Maybe, just maybe, I won't have to eat it at all.
Okay, so in Shin's case, there's also a pattern where you eat all the delicious food, enjoy all the tasty steak, and you're totally satisfied. But then you might still have to eat that thing that gives you a stomachache at the end.
Yeah, at least I got to eat something delicious. If it were the other way around, I wouldn't even get to eat the good stuff. And if you finish everything, you get 20 million yen. So in the end, that's what it comes down to.
I see. Well, I can understand Ujikubo's way of thinking too.
Well, I really respect him, but there's no doubt that it's a huge disadvantage too.
But then, in the second round, one person becomes a reserve through the lottery, right? If Ugikubo wins, I think it's almost impossible for him to become the reserve. I don't think the tournament would be exciting. Honestly, if you beat the strongest guy and still end up as the reserve, it would feel kind of lame, wouldn't it?
If it was a fan vote, that's totally possible.
No, I don't think that's possible. I really don't think it's possible for the guy who beat the strongest one, according to the fans, to be left out of the tournament. If they were real, normal fans...
I see.
Don't you think so?
What do you mean by a regular fan?
So for RIZIN fans, the people who watch RIZIN, the ones who go to the RIZIN events, and those who follow RIZIN, I think if Ujikubo beats Jose Torres and becomes the reserve, it would make the tournament less exciting.
That's what I want to believe, though.
I absolutely agree. In a way, it's also kind of securing the next step.
Well, it totally depends on who moves up. For example, Hiroya, well, but foreigners are out from the start anyway.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Ugikubo-san's story was too long. I'll cut most of it. So, is Ugikubo-san okay with you?
Ugikubo-san, yes.
I also think Ugikubo-san will win by decision. That's how I feel. Okay, Zulu versus Hiroki Ito.
I think it's overwhelmingly Zulu.
I think there's a chance for Ito, you know, but Zulu is Muay Thai, right? So his punch defense after getting inside isn't that great. So if Ito can push him to the ropes and land 2 or 3 punches, he might have a shot. But if he tries to step in from the center, Zulu just backs up, keeps his distance, and kicks. So it's tough. Still, I think there's a chance, but I'm not sure.
He really has to move forward aggressively and put a lot of pressure.
Also, well, I haven't really seen Zulu fight against a southpaw much. I can't say for sure, but since he can switch stances and fight, I can't really imagine him struggling against a southpaw. Yeah, that's right. But if Hiroki Ito gets caught up in Zulu's rhythm, then it's going to be impossible for him. Zulu really has that feeling of every single strike, whether it's a kick, a punch, or a knee. He mixes them up high and low, you know? He doesn't throw combinations or connect 2 or 3 shots in a row like bam, 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 bam. So if Ito gets caught in that slow, steady rhythm, like bam, 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 it's going to be really tough for him. If he can avoid falling into that and keep his own pace and rhythm, he might have a chance, but it's really just that one chance. Honestly, it's really tough to win with just punches against a fighter who can do everything.
Also, Zulu moves to the side a lot, and in that sense, I think Hiroki Ito tends to attack straight on, and that makes him pretty hard to catch. Plus, Zulu mixes in punches, kicks, and knees, and if things get dangerous, he can go for a takedown too. So I'm not really sure how Hiroki Ito can.
But still, since Zulu tends to back up, that does create a chance.
Yeah, because he circles around and backs up.
Because he backs up, but his timing is really good, and he's even able to land counters on Horiguchi. But Horiguchi has also been knocked down before, you know. I'm talking about Zulu. He got knocked down by a punch. Hiroki Ito is also fast, and his timing when he steps in is really good. So I think it's totally possible. That's what I think.
I see.
If I had to choose, I'd pick Zulu. It'll likely be a close match. By the way, Jose Torres is 2.2 and Uji Kubo is 1.5. Yeah, that makes sense. And Yuki Ito is 1.9, Zulu is 1.7. So yeah, it's actually pretty close, isn't it?
They're actually pretty similar, aren't they?
Huh, so what is this? Zulu?
Yeah, for me, Zulu wins by decision.
Yeah, I think it's Zulu for me too. He goes for takedowns, so it's Zulu next.
Gajamatov versus Soya. Gajamatov is that guy, right? A Dagestani striker? Yes, that's right. Not a striker from Sambo. What was it again? Sanda. Yeah, Wushu. It's the same as that, right? Eli. Oh, really? Eli is also a Sanda champion.
Oh, really? Huh, I think Eli is on a different level, but there are actually quite a few strikers like this in Dagestan. There was one in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, right? There was this guy called The Beat, and everyone thought he would definitely become champion, but he suddenly retired, got COVID, retired because of COVID, but apparently he's coming back. Oh, really? Wow, I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, that's right. So The Beat is also, Sanda, he's from Wushu. Well, he also did freestyle wrestling, but I was watching this documentary about it, about the striking culture in Dagestan. Yeah, that's right. Well, it was a documentary about The Beat, but in Dagestan, there's this school, probably you can enter from around 5th grade, where you get a normal education, like math and history, while also training in Sanda. So it's a boarding school. You live away from your parents and spend 29 days a month at that school, so you only go home occasionally. Basically, you live there and study. You start living that kind of life doing martial arts from 5th grade. So Zabi was enrolled there. The school is called 5 Directions of the World. You know, there are north, south, east, and west, the 4 directions. And then there's a 5th direction. The person who founded that school, sorry, I forgot his name. The person who originally founded the school was a karate teacher in Moscow, Russia. But when relations between China and Russia got worse, Eastern martial arts like karate and other martial arts became illegal in Russia.
Oh, really?
So that's why this karate teacher moved from Moscow to Dagestan and started this school in Dagestan.
Wow, that's amazing.
At first, he was teaching karate and other things to kids outside, and eventually he turned it into a school where they could get an education, you know, in various aspects, like physical and spiritual.
Related to martial arts.
Yeah, that's why this school feels kind of like karate. In Dagestan, just being strong in Sanda culture isn't enough. They also teach things like character, like when they win, they don't get too excited, and when they lose, they don't get too disappointed. It's really got that karate vibe. So the guy who created the 5 Directions of the World school, is kind of like Oyama, the leader of Kyokushin karate culture.
So that's the kind of history there was.
Yeah, that's the kind of history there is. So kids start doing Sanda from a young age. But Dagestan, it's really like Sparta over there. I was actually watching a documentary about it. In Dagestan, weakness is not tolerated. There are no weak men there. You just can't survive if you're weak.
It's really like the standards of humanity from 400 years ago.
Yeah, that's why Gajamatov gives me the image of being strong, and well, that's actually true. Well, really, from Dagestan, overseas from Dagestan.
Just the fact that they can compete in places like Japan or America means they've already overcome a lot of tough situations.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, did you see this Confessions by Soya-san? He was being harassed by Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara. That scene was pretty funny. The episode where the president, the newcomer, and the senior got scolded was pretty funny. Well, I feel bad saying it was funny, but still. There are a lot of ways to look at it, but Sakakibara, Chief Executive Officer, never actually said not to go for the tackle, You get what I mean, right? Like those emotional matches and all that. If you can make the fans feel something, then it's totally fine to go for the tackle. I don't think it's about not going for the tackle. That's not the issue, right? So if you make the fans happy, Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara will be happy too. So if you go for the tackle, then go for the pound and finish with an armbar. That's totally fine, I think. I feel like it's okay to go for the tackle.
Well, maybe the finish is what's important, at least from the fans' perspective. I wonder about that.
I'm not really sure, though.
If the goal is to move people or get them excited, then maybe the finish is what really matters.
You think so?
If you finish a fight with an armbar after some ground and pound, people are impressed. But if you just stay on top until a decision, the reaction is quite different. They're both takedowns, but I guess the difference is whether you can go for the finish or at least get close to finishing.
I see, but it's not like the fight was interesting just because there was a finish.
But it does have an impact,
Yeah, I guess it's because it ends cleanly. I don't really know, but I just feel like something about this fight is a bit off. It's just that it ends cleanly, I don't really know, but for now I just feel like something about this fight is a bit strange. With Dawson, it was an upset win, but isn't that actually pretty amazing? He beat the former #1 in the Ultimate Fighting Championship rankings. Isn't that amazing? That's what I think, but I guess there's not really that sense of Japan versus the world here.
Yeah, that's true, really. I wonder about that, But since Sawyer fought Dotson like that in bare knuckle, I guess I was kind of hoping for something similar. Not exactly a continuation, but I do wonder how it'll turn out.
I'm curious about the outcome. What's your opinion on it?
Well, being #1 in the Ultimate Fighting Championship and all, that's definitely impressive, but the problem was that the fight itself was a bit disappointing, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well, Shin and me both don't know about it, but we don't really see it as a problem.
Well, because Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara said he was betrayed. Well, I do understand how the promoter feels. Naoto, don't talk too much. I get how he feels, He put money into making this fight happen, and he's probably thinking, why did I even set this up? I get why he's angry. But honestly, all promoters are like that. They don't really care about the fighters. Promoters really don't care about the fighters. Of course, you should never say that from a public relations perspective, but that's just how it is. Fighters are disposable. That's why they want to put on exciting matches. But if a fighter gets beaten up and broken, they'll just use a new one. That's the kind of world it is. In boxing, too, people like Al-Sheikh make all kinds of super fights happen. Canelo, Crawford, and even Naoya Inoue sponsors. Wasn't it like $1 billion yen just for putting their logo on his trunks during the rehearsal season? With that kind of money, these super fights get made. And since he's the boss, what he wants to see is just all-out brawls. At the press conference, was it Crawford and Canelo's? Al-Sheikh took the mic and said something like, boxing is about battle blood, saying boxing is about fighting and blood. I thought it was supposed to be about hitting and not getting hit though, but since Al-Sheikh is the one paying, he can say whatever he wants. Before Canelo and Gervonta Davis said they didn't want to do business with him, that they didn't need him, but in the end, they're being promoted by him now, so they don't really have the right to complain anymore. Soya-san is also working for Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara, so he can't really say anything either. From the outside, I still think it's strange. He can't go for a tackle, and why is it that only this one person isn't allowed to tackle? What's up with that? On the other hand, I think it's strange that he's already the underdog and isn't allowed to tackle. Just winning is impressive enough, you know? So maybe the way they promoted it wasn't good. Also, even though Soya-san's team is being told they can't tackle, it's really just about making the fans happy. If you do a tackle and get the fans excited, Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara won't complain at all. That's why I wish they'd handle things a bit more cleverly.
It's not like tackles are completely forbidden, right? When Mikuru Asakura tackled Chihiro Suzuki, the crowd went wild. That's a bit.
Soya-san's character has kind of gotten caught up in all that back and forth about striking, so in the first place, that's not really ideal. Or rather, it could have been promoted a bit better. At first, it was all about the whole Crohn's disease story, and just the fact that he's still fighting is amazing, but he then pulled off an upset and beat Dawson. Though the fight wasn't thrilling, he still won as the underdog. Instead of being praised, people called the fight boring and said he shouldn't compete unless he can stop the action. And he was told, no takedowns next time. I feel bad for him.
Well, but if people are saying this much, I really think he should go for the takedown.
I want him to go for a takedown right after the glove touch.
I think that would really hype things up.
It gets exciting.
If he goes so far that he even get booed, it actually fires people up.
Hey, I wonder what's going to happen. I don't really know, but I just think it'd be amazing if he could beat Gadjamatov.
I think it's amazing. But with all the commotion, Takaki Soya has definitely gained more fans, hasn't he? It's not exactly don't lose to power harassment, though. I think that's the kind of thing that has increased his fans. I often see comments saying they want him to go for tackles without hesitation. And on Confessions, there were like 1,200 likes from people who wanted Soya to go for the first tackle. So I think that's a good thing, isn't it? Good.
I don't care anymore. I just want him to do his thing without worrying. I don't think he'll lose fan votes, but if he's going to win, he should be fully committed. It's not just about being committed to winning. Tackling Gadjamatov won't be easy to keep him down. He'll definitely get back up.
I think it would be tough even in a normal fight. So, of course, I'm rooting for Soya, but Gadjamatov has only had 5 fights after all.
People say he's kind of an unknown, but I definitely think he can wrestle.
Well, he should be able to come up with a strategy.
There's no way he can't. It's just that when it comes to striking, Soya-san is at a bit of a disadvantage.
Well then, maybe Takaki has a bit of an advantage because of the shallow record and lack of experience. In terms of experience, I mean.
Huh? What?
He's only had 5 fights, right?
Mixed martial arts, right? Yeah, that's true. In terms of experience, that's about it. But I wonder.
I guess his usual way of winning is by decision, isn't it?
Soya-san's? I don't know. Well, since I want my prediction to be right, I think Gadjamatov will win. I think it's pretty tough.
He's strong, after all.
Even if you can do a normal strong tackle, I think it's still tough.
What do you think would happen if it turned into a messy exchange of blows?
I wonder if there's a slight chance if he can get into punching range. It's still tough because he'll go for a clinch there too. It's not really about trading punches, but more about getting a good position first and then striking from there. He's smart, and he has been doing striking since he was a kid. Yeah, that's right. But against fighters like that, the ones who have the technical advantage still have a chance to turn things around with a single punch in an exchange. I can't really imagine it. You mean it wouldn't even get to that situation? No, it wouldn't. But you know, there might be a chance, but Soya-san might have a shot. But I think Gadjamatov will win.
So, would that be by decision or by knockout? Which one?
Gadzamatov will likely win by knockout if victorious. He's finished all 5 of his fights.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy for sure. Well, I do want Soya to win, and I think Soya-san will win.
Okay.
With the Ugikubo strategy.
If he's going to win, that's definitely the way.
It's not about trying to deal damage anymore, just go all in for the submission. Dive in, clinch, and focus only on getting the submission. If he can stick to that, he can win by decision.
Then there might be a chance, but I really don't think he'll do it.
Yeah, that's a bit...
It's a bit tough, right? Especially after Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara said all that.
You need some guts.
If you go for a tackle after being told all that, I think that's really impressive.
But it really depends on the power of the fans, doesn't it? If the fans cheer, even when it's all clinching like that, Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara will be happy too.
Well,
when Mikuru Asakura took down Chihiro Suzuki and the crowd went wild, it wasn't that the tackle was bad or anything, it's just that the support from the fans was amazing. This time, it's really a chance for Soya's fans to show their support, isn't it? Everyone's probably shouting, "Go for the tackle! Go for the tackle!" I think that kind of energy makes a difference too.
yeah, so in the end, it's just boring. For example, the fight between Mikuru Asakura and Chihiro Suzuki was kind of boring, right, to be honest. But because there were a lot of fans cheering, more people found it interesting. If you're on the cheering side and your fighter wins in a boring way, it's not really exciting for people who aren't fans of either fighter. But if you're rooting for someone, it becomes interesting just because of that. So putting on an exciting match is definitely good, but you can't do it every time. And as you get older and become a veteran, it's just not possible. So, like in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, take Georges St-Pierre, for example. His fights were super boring, right? But he was still the #1 star in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. So I think this idea of always having to put on an exciting fight isn't really a good mindset for fighters. At first, when you're coming up, you want to make a name for yourself that way, but once you've made a name, you don't really need that anymore, I think. Instead of always trying to have an exciting fight, it's more important to win and not take damage. Ogikubo-san is just like that, isn't he? Regardless of how thrilling he made his fights. Fans forget so quickly. If you have a boring fight and then have an exciting one, everyone just forgets about the boring fight.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
So I think as long as you win, that's good enough, especially once you've gotten a certain level of recognition.
Well, it's a sport where it's all about winning or losing, after all.
Well, from the outside, for example, even if you go toe-to-toe and lose by knockout, people say things like, "You showed amazing courage," or "I was moved." But everyone forgets about that pretty quickly. Yeah, so it really depends on the situation, but I wonder how it really is. As for me, since I'm a trainer, I don't tell people to just go all out and trade blows. What was it that Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara said? Something like, "It's okay to lose, just go for it anyway."
That's pretty amazing.
That would certainly be controversial. But in the end, that's just how promoters think. Promoters want you to put on an exciting fight even if you lose. That's just how it is. They're paying the money and the fans are buying tickets. So your fight money comes from making the fans happy. As a professional, that's only natural. But if you do that every time, the fighters will end up getting hurt. So you have to decide when and where to do it. So I don't think this is the right opponent. It's not Dawson either. So it's a pretty tough matchup. Yeah, I feel like they're asking for something pretty unreasonable.
It was just bad luck with the lottery, you know?
If it was someone like Hiroya, then it would be an interesting match without any tackles, that kind of opponent. But Gadzamatov is a bit different. Well, to be fair, before the lottery, Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara gave them a lecture saying it can't be helped. Am I talking too much? I'm going on today.
Well, there are a lot of things, not just about the matches, but also various cultural topics, this time too.
So this time, I think Soya-san should just promote it as showing Japanese strength and taking down the guy from Dagestan. Dawson, who was considered a complete underdog, you know. Defeating a strong Dagestani opponent to prove Japanese strength is fine. But what's the point of this no tackles rule? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I guess that's what they decided to go with.
Well, there's not much we can do about it, but that's why you really should promote yourself more.
That's really true.
It's not just about the fight itself, you have to handle things smartly outside the ring, too. If you leave it all to the promoters, it'll end up like this. I think it's better to create your own story.
That's exactly like Mikuru Asakura. He goes at his own pace, right? Even with the content of his matches.
Initially, he had exciting matches that made him famous. However, constantly engaging in such fights takes a toll on the body. As a veteran, you must prioritize winning and adjust your mindset to avoid burnout and physical breakdown. It's unsustainable to keep having those kinds of matches forever. So I don't want to become a fighter who's expected to do that every time.
Yeah. The Ultimate Fighting Championship also has fighters like Chandler, with a similar style.
If you're offered a large sum like 100 million yen to fight with no takedowns, it's probably worth accepting, right? That kind of prize money makes the restriction more acceptable.
That's true.
That's how I feel. I'd like to hear everyone's opinions, so please leave a comment. Makoto Shinryu versus Austin. Austin did beat Yuki Ito after all.
His weapon is wrestling, right?
He even traded strikes with Fukuda and the others, so I wonder what it is. His striking looks pretty clumsy, but he's still tough to deal with. It's true that the more awkward someone is, the harder they are to deal with. There's definitely something to that. He's not clumsy, but his unpredictable style makes him break the basics, which actually makes him harder to deal with. However, fighters like that can also get caught off guard in strange ways. Shinryu's striking is clean. Shinryu is really skilled. And lately, like in the fight against Torres, he's been aiming for elbows too. So he's still adding new weapons to his arsenal. That's impressive. His punches are clean too, so yeah, Austin is, I just can't get over this. Watching how his head doesn't move at all from here makes me really nervous. So, in a way, that's entertainment for me. I wonder if he's already taken a few clean shots before. I feel like standing so stiff like that, he's definitely going to take a good hit and go down at some point during these 15 minutes. But still, Khabib was kind of like this too, right? Yeah, that's right. And when he extends his arms like this, there are some things that make it hard to deal with. He's doing things he absolutely shouldn't do, and that makes it hard to figure out how to get past it. But when he does get hit, he really takes it full on. So, for example, if you compare Arsen and Torres, of course there are differences in their guard openings. But the thing is, they both tuck their chins properly, and even if they get hit, they don't get shaken up. That's what makes their guard skills really good. It's not just about blocking. No matter how tough a fighter is, if they take a direct hit like this, they're definitely going down. That's right. That's why guys like Golovkin and Canelo always keep this kind of posture, and Torres does the same.
Do you think Yamamoto would lose in terms of striking? Personally, I think Shinryu has the advantage. No matter where the fight goes, I actually think Shinryu might finish it with a choke. Yeah, that's totally possible. If Shinryu wins, it makes sense. But if Arsen wins, that would be a huge upset. And honestly, that would be interesting too. It wouldn't be just a fluke, but maybe something like catching a perfect guillotine or something like that. If he wins, I think it would be in that kind of way.
Yeah, I honestly can't really picture Arsen winning, but if he does, that would be amazing. Then, in the lottery, Motoya would probably pick him right away. Motoya, who's totally aiming for the championship, would definitely pick Arsen. It's a huge advantage, especially in the tournament, right?
Well, if it gets to that point,
Right? Since it's a tournament, the ideal is to move up in the easiest way possible, but with a reserve, it's not strange at all if someone gets a chance. This one's a bit different, and here too, you never know what might happen, but it's a match you can win pretty safely. Ojikubo versus Torres, Zulu versus Ito, either one of them could.
that's right.
That's true for this as well. So Makoto Shinryu and Yuki Motoya are starting from a pretty advantageous position. And if things go well, they can move up to the second round completely fresh. So what? One of the winners will become the reserve. The RIZIN Flyweight Victory Tournament is really popular, isn't it? Well, that's just how it is.
Yeah, that's true. I still don't know how they're going to do the voting.
It's hard to predict the outcome since it's not solely a fan vote, and Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara will make the ultimate decision, making a takedown attempt more challenging.
That's true. But I think it'll be fine if the fans understand, even if he goes for a takedown.
Well, in the end, as long as it's entertaining, it's all good.
That's part of the fun too, RIZIN culture. Like, go for it. He's defying the boss.
Getting called out and scolded can also become content. Nevertheless, he still managed to win. Split everything in half. Chief Executive Officer Sakakibara excels at promotion and can make use of any outcome. In martial arts, it's crucial to adapt to the situation as you can't control the result. He's skilled at that. Let's move on to the odds. Shinryu and Asen are likely evenly matched, with 1.13 for Shinryu and 4.3 for Asen, the largest gap. Soya is 3.2, Gazamatov is 1.25. It's the under, yeah, that makes sense.
Apologies, I'm not following the heavyweight tournament. I simply hope Ueda gives it his all.
I really hope Ueda makes it to the finals. Alright, it's a bit long, so I'll skip ahead. This Korean guy, Shin, there are many Shins, right? About 2 of them are in RIZIN.
Yeah, there are, right?
I wonder if there are a lot of fighters named Shin in Korea. It seems like there are only female fighters with that name.
But Shin is probably their last name, right?
Yeah, it's the same as Izawa, that's true. I wonder if there are a lot of people named Shin. By the way, my name isn't Shin, everyone. Just so you know.
Izawa will likely win.
Everyone says so. Well, this is the interesting thing about martial arts. I've never seen any of Shin's matches, but I still say Izawa will win.
Well, if you look at their records, you kind of get the idea, but still you never really know.
She might be an unbelievable monster, but you never know. If you ask me if I really know, I don't. I think Izawa will probably win, but in the end, you just never know.
Fukuda versus Naoki Inoue. This is interesting. I actually like Fukuda quite a bit. You know, he hunts for himself and eats his own meat. As a man, there's something admirable about getting your own meat and eating it yourself. It kind of stirs something in a man's heart, doesn't it? Isn't there something manly about getting your own food? Don't you think so?
Are you asking me? I feel that way, but you don't? Not really. You don't care. I just think it looks tasty. That's about it.
I see. Got it. He seems like someone who likes the countryside and peace. But since he does martial arts, I wonder about that. Is that all?
No, that's why I think that's cool. Yeah, I do think it's cool. He's not like most people, so I kind of like him. I think it's funny to call Naoki Inoue a small eater guy because he seems kind of fox-like, and that's interesting. I like how he matches himself to animals. A lot of fighters are similar to animals, right?
Yeah, there are, right?
Most of the time. Everyone seems kind of monkey-like, but Naoki Inoue really is like a fox. He seems fox-like, smart. Yeah, even his fighting style is a bit sneaky, kind of sly. Yeah, he's quick too, so yeah, definitely a fox. Also, I like his tattoos.
Ah, Fukuda's? Yeah, it's Medusa. Medusa, that's right. It's interesting. You know, if you look into her eyes, you turn to stone. Yeah, from Greek mythology.
She's beautiful. Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting that she chose Medusa. She seems like a really fascinating person. His style is flashy and cool too. He's a puncher, but it's not like the typical Japanese boxing 1-2 sidestep straight. It's more like slipping, throwing hooks, slipping uppercuts, and overhands. I really like his boxing style because instead of coming straight in, he attacks from the sides. I like his fighting style and personality. But I think their compatibility is bad. He often uses feints, watches his opponent, and reacts to their movements really well. Fukuda. But Naoki Inoue is really good with feints, so he has to watch him closely and react every time. That's why their compatibility in striking isn't good.
Naoki Inoue doesn't really put himself in dangerous situations like that, does he? Especially when it comes to striking, he controls the distance with his jab and avoids dangerous situations by stepping back. So I wonder how Fukuda is going to catch him.
He moves actively. In the fight against Motoya, he didn't really use feints like that, but basically Naoki Inoue uses a lot of feints. Also, Fukuda is a southpaw, right? Inoue is really good at landing outside calf kicks against southpaws, and he can wear them down with those. Fukuda also has a bit of a boxer-like stance with a pretty wide stance and a bit of a drop, but he has to do that to step in, so that's really important. Since Naoki Inoue is a southpaw, he can really wear down the lead leg with outside calf kicks from the left, and I think his jab will land too. Fukuda also tends to fall for feints, so it's hard for him to time his counters. Yeah, that's right. Naoki Inoue can also move to the side when he's being chased, and he's good at moving his head and going to the side like that. Even if he tries to follow him, it's hard to land a clean shot. It feels like you have to land one big punch, but I think it's really difficult to actually hit him with that one shot.
In terms of how the fight will play out, don't you think it might end up being similar to that Kintaro versus Naoki Inoue match? But he definitely has better boxing technique than Kintaro, and he really does have that one-punch power. So I think he'd want to land a counter somewhere with that one shot, probably more than anything else.
Naoki Inoue will likely attempt takedowns, making it a challenging match. What are the odds? Naoto, you haven't seen much of Fukuda's fighting style, but it seems to be the kind you enjoy.
Yeah, he gets inside and knocks people out with a big punch. He's definitely going to be a fan favorite.
Fukuda is 2.9, Naoki Inoue is 1.3. The champion has the edge, as expected. Fukuda's punching style, which Naoto likely hasn't seen but would appreciate, is appealing.
Oh, I see. I really need to watch it more closely. Well, you know, that Ashida fighter, Ashizawa, right? Ashizawa, yeah, I saw that one. The one that made me think, wow, he's strong. Yeah, something like that. He's pretty speedy, right? It feels like he just keeps stepping in and pressing forward.
He suddenly watches closely, throws in a feint, and then out of nowhere comes an overhand, or from the side, or an uppercut.
He knows what he's good at, and I get the impression that he uses those strengths really well.
But I do think Fukuda has some weaknesses on defense. When he's being pushed back, if either fighter takes the center and pushes him to the ropes, I think if Naoki Inoue does that, it'll be pretty tough for him. Yeah, that's tough. But that's just how it is, right? Naoki Inoue is taller and bigger, so I don't think he'll back down much. And if Fukuda gets pushed to the ropes, that's where it gets a bit tricky. I kind of imagine a scenario where Fukuda just keeps getting chipped away little by little, so I think Naoki Inoue will win pretty safely, right? For Fukuda to win, I feel like he has to keep attacking from start to finish. If he keeps attacking, I think Inoue will back off since that's dangerous for him.
But even if he backs off, he'll quickly get back to the center again. That's why Fukuda has to keep attacking all the time. He always has to be on the offensive. Still, I think if he does that, Naoki Inoue will back off. If he can keep attacking from start to finish, I think he might be able to win by decision. Well, but that's impossible, yeah. Because Naoki Inoue can strike from the outside. So, if Fukuda is going to win, it would have to be by knockout, right? Just get in there. But it's also possible to win by decision by dealing damage. Anyway, that's how I see it, yeah. Kyoma Akimoto versus Akada. Akada stepped in last minute. I wanted to see Dartbeck too, as there was a strong sense of rivalry. But it is what it is. If possible, I'd like to see it happen again in September, or maybe on New Year's Eve somewhere. This kind of feels like watching those Roman-era Colosseum fights, where criminals would battle lions. Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah, it was like that with Ota versus Ashizawa, and Ashizawa versus Fukuda too, but this might be the worst one yet. Oh, even worse than those? Even worse. Worse than Ota versus Ashizawa? Worse than Ashizawa. Well, yeah, I guess that's true.
It's overwhelming.
It's already Kyoma Akimoto.
For now, it's like, let's just get out there and play the match.
Well, someone has to go up against Kyoma Akimoto, right? Well, they could cancel the whole card, but I wonder what would happen with the tickets if they did that. They'd have to refund the tickets and all that. It's a hassle. So for now, someone just has to fight Akimoto. Originally, he was supposed to fight Shinobu Ota, and it was set, but apparently Ota's side suddenly said they couldn't do it. There are a lot of opinions about it, but saying you'll do it and then backing out is just a pain, you know? Both Akimoto's side and RIZIN's side are saying that it shouldn't have happened in the first place. I think they should have just said from the start that it wasn't possible. It's just over a week before the event. There's no way, right? That's what I think.
I kind of think it would have been fine to just cancel it already, but I guess you could say that Okada saved this card. I don't know though. Personally, I don't really think it's that interesting.
If they canceled it, like I said, there would be a lot of hassle, right? But with this, I guess it's just barely at the level where they don't have to cancel. I mean, there's no need to cancel since the fight is still happening. It's just like, let's just have the match for now. But it can't be helped. It's an injury in martial arts. Yeah, well, for Okada, it's a good thing, right? He gets to fight a famous person on a big stage. Yeah, obviously it's clear he can't win, but it's like a good payday or something.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I don't mind it, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. Well, I felt like it can't be helped, so I can't really say I'm excited. But as soon as it's over, I'll probably be left wondering what I just watched. Okada is a playboy, right? A playboy? So it's like, whatever. That's just how he is. To put it bluntly, that's the kind of fighter he is. For example, we're asking him to do something unreasonable, but it's not like Okada is going to become the ultimate champion. So, as a martial artist, that's the level of respect he gets. For example, if Kyoma-kun, let's say someone in the featherweight division like Kyoma-kun. So if Souza's opponent drops out and you ask Kyoma to fight Souza right away, of course he'd say no. He has no chance of winning, and they're in different weight classes. Well, what about Okada's favorite? I think he was fighting at bantamweight, but I'm not really sure. Either way, it's impossible, right? So why? Kyoma, it kind of feels like you're talking about using a top potential fighter like that, but if it's Playboy, then it's okay just because he's Playboy? Because it's Okada. It's the same with Ashizawa. So here, when it comes to respect as a fighter, it's kind of like, you're not a top fighter, and he has already accepted that to some extent. That's why I think it's okay with Okada. For me, it's the same with Ashizawa. I'm fine with that too.
But Ashizawa is interesting. He kind of puts on a show with his self-promotion a bit more than others.
Well, he's really putting on a show, but it's a show where there's absolutely no way he can win. So I get the feeling that this is what people in the Roman era Colosseum were watching. Like, oh, this is interesting. There was a time when people found it entertaining to watch someone with zero chance get eaten by a lion. I can totally believe that. I can totally believe it. Yeah, that's how it is. I like martial arts, so I don't really want to see someone just get beaten up one-sidedly.
Especially. Well, that's true.
Well, especially what?
No, I mean someone like Akamoto who's going to the top ranks. It's fine because Akamoto wins, and it's not like he's pushing himself too hard. So it's okay. Well, it's a match between two people, right? So my impression is that Akimoto is also getting caught up in that kind of thing.
I see. But Akamoto's brand image and record don't really take any damage, right? Well, yeah, but he really has to win one-sidedly. But he probably will win one-sidedly. Yeah, he could probably win with one hand. He really has to win with one hand. I mean, it's like he can win with one hand, right? It's basically no chance for the other guy. So unless it's like that, it's not interesting. The more Okada gets beaten up one-sidedly, the more interesting the match becomes. No, actually, if Okada unexpectedly gives Akimoto a hard time, that would be interesting. Yeah, that's interesting too. That's actually the most interesting scenario. It's the only way it would be interesting. If Akimoto just beats him up one-sidedly, everyone will just say, well, that's how it was going to go, and that's it.
I see. For me, it's actually more like, wow, that's amazing. But then going back to what we were talking about earlier, Akimoto's brand image would take a hit, right?
Well, but there's no choice but to do it. He was planning to fight Doubtbeck in the first place anyway. I wonder how it'll turn out. Maybe it'll just end with people saying Okada did really well.
People might say Akimoto was overrated, or that if it was like this, there was no way he could have beaten Doubtbeck.
It's fine, isn't it? And if he fights Doubtbeck and wins, it could actually be good for promotion. I think it's totally fine. There's no downside. Yeah, I see. There's no downside. If the fight money is the same as with Doubtbeck, then it would have been really easy.
Well, it's a good thing for Akimoto. Fighting Doubtbeck would have been the best, but this isn't bad either. Akira got himself a sweet match, didn't he? It's pretty impressive. Even if you say you want to fight Kyoma Akimoto, you can't. That's right. But honestly, there's no real competition here. There's no real competition. I might be saying something a bit rude, but overall, it's just impossible. Alright, Yaman and Kanehara. Well, if you look at the stats, it's Kanehara.
Yeah, that's right. Yaman is strong in exchanges, and his forward pressure is intense. But when he got tackled by Doubtbeck, I kind of wondered about Kanehara. Still, it's not like Kanehara can't substitute either.
Do you mean Kanehara is better at tackling?
Better than who? Better than Doubtbeck? No, I think Doubtbeck's overall grappling is on a different level.
But, well, it's been about a year, more than a year since Kanehara last fought, right?
But when it comes to veterans, I don't think that's really a problem for them. In fact, for many of them, taking a break is actually a good thing. I don't know how many fights he's had, but it's quite a lot, right? At that point, you don't really forget how to fight. And Yaman, on the other hand, is also coming back after a knockout loss, right? From RIZIN.
From Rise. That's something that really happens to fighters like Yaman, who gradually get worn down over time.
But if he loses here, it would be a clear loss, like by submission or something. So if he wins, I think that's really impressive. I'd be like, yeah, man is amazing. But I can't really imagine Kanehara getting a knockout. He's been training in Thailand too, I think Kanehara will win by submission here. I think it'll happen in the first round. The first round, huh?
Yeah, that's true, honestly. Surprisingly, the odds are 1.5 for Kanehara and 2.25. That's pretty unexpected. It just feels like Kanehara should win, So, on the other hand, what do you think is Yaman's way to win? Knockout. He'd have to stop the takedown, put on the pressure, get in close, and trade punches.
That's Yaman as usual. That's all he ever does, so that's it, yeah. Yeah, if he can stop the takedown, that's the key point to watch, right? But even in the clinch or when they're grappling, that's still pretty dangerous.
Yaman will lose. He's going to lose.
He'll lose physically. I see, so that's the key point.
He needs to land a punch before his bones get grabbed or before he gets swung around. That's how I see it. He wouldn't want to be pushed against the ropes either. It's a pretty tough match, so hang in there, yeah man. Alright, Nomura-san versus Pitbull. This is an interesting match. Pitbull has a scary face. His face is scary, right? He looks cool. He kind of looks like a Spartan, doesn't he? Like the Spartans in the movies. I don't really know what real Spartans were like, though. Yeah.
He looks like an actor, doesn't he? Yeah, that's true. Pitbull is strong. He's strong, but lately his record hasn't been great, and he's getting older. So when you think about that, the fact that he knocked out Souza is still pretty impressive.
Well, you know, it was a version of Souza who wasn't in good shape. Didn't he have a short preparation period?
I see. Apparently that was also the case. Well, even if the preparation period was short, if it was that one-sided, I guess. Rather than saying he put on a bad performance, it was just so one-sided that blaming it on his condition doesn't really make sense to me. I see. Karamov faced Kimura and won, but his performance was underwhelming. Despite claims about the preparation period, the one-sided nature of the match doesn't quite make sense.
Well, even if his condition was good, I feel like the result would have been pretty much the same. Even if he was in good shape, if it was that one-sided, that's just how I see it. What was it again? Did the low kicks get to him? I think the calf kicks really affected him.
He was knocked down by a punch or flying knee. Then it ended with ground and pound. It was one-sided, but I actually think Nomura might win this one.
With that speed?
Yeah, with that speed and, yeah, his quick step-ins and precision, honestly, anyone would have a hard time dealing with that.
But he's big, isn't he? Nomura.
He's not that tall, but he's got weight. Like, yeah, when someone that solid moves that fast, it's scary. I think Nomura will probably land the first shot and maybe make it count against Pitbull. He's got that beard too. Gustavo also looks strong, right? His jaw seems tough, though maybe hidden by the beard. Gustavo took several hits, but still pressed forward in the third round. I wonder how it's going to turn out. Patricky is definitely a black belt, but it's surprising that Gustavo, even though he's Brazilian, doesn't have a black belt. Yeah, that's true. I didn't know there were Brazilians like that. He doesn't really seem like a typical Brazilian, does he?
Yeah, but Nomura-san, it's definitely going to be a big challenge to walk this path, but I think he can do it.
I believe he can win, likely by decision based on damage. I can envision him landing shots, being mobile, and scoring points. In the third round, Pitbull might make a comeback, but time will run out. It's a plausible scenario. Now onto the main event. Mikuru Asakura versus Kleber Koike.
This is really a 50-50 match.
Is it 50-50? Yeah, 50-50. Either one could win, and it wouldn't be surprising. Like, Mikuru Asakura is saying he'll focus on winning by decision or something like that, right? If it's that kind of fight, I think he'll definitely lose. I think he'll definitely lose if it's that kind of fight, just landing a few strikes and moving around. Wouldn't it be better for Asakura to be aggressive? Otherwise, I don't think it's possible, so... If possible, instead of saying that, I think it would actually catch him off guard if he just pressed forward aggressively from the start. Well, maybe that's the plan. I think that's the better way to go. But, well, he doesn't have to rush in himself, but Asakura is really good at applying pressure with his striking, right? So if he does that and makes Kleber back off, he can definitely land a counter there. I mean, in their first fight, he landed a counter after a tackle, right? Kleber came in hard and got countered, so I think they want to create that kind of situation again. I really don't think just trying to outpoint him is a good strategy. Kleber would probably take control of the pace. So unless you pressure him and make him rush, you won't get any chances. That's what I really think. He has to make Kleber feel rushed. Yeah, he wants to push him back and draw out that striking rush from him. Make him do it. It's more like he'll make him do it, or rather he'll draw it out of him. If he put a little pressure on him, that's when he'll make mistakes. I don't think the kind of fighting style where he just focuses on winning will really work against Kleber. But he'll go with striking, right? He'll avoid the ground game, right? Of course, of course. Last time he lost on the ground, so of course he wants to avoid that. I think he'll try to avoid it, and I think he should. He'll definitely get pulled in, but get back up right away. In that area, I'm not too sure, but yeah, if he's going to win, it'll have to be like Mikuru Asakura did before. He put on pressure, drew out counterattacks, and matched them with his own counters. That style, right? I think that's probably the strongest approach as a striker. That's true. If he goes with that kind of style, I think he can win. I think Kleber will win again.
Take it to the ground. What about striking? Who do you think will take the lead?
It depends on Mikuru Asakura's fighting style. I'm not really sure about that though.
But last time, was it pretty even, or was Kleber actually at an advantage in striking?
It's Mikuru Asakura's stance and the way he keeps his balance. He ends up getting kicked, you know? He just gets kicked.
I see. Especially when he's backing up, that's why he wants to push back, right? That's just my personal way of thinking, though.
If he comes forward, I think Kleber would find it a bit tough, so I feel like Kleber might win. What do you think?
Oh, that's interesting.
If Mikuru Asakura unexpectedly gets on top and can control from there, that's way too dangerous. But a lot of experts are saying that's just not possible. If we assume that's impossible, then he'll have to do something with his striking. If he just focuses on striking to win, he'll definitely lose. But Kleber is mentally tough too, so that style just doesn't seem like a good idea. Don't back down, that's my opinion.
This is a question Shin often asks when he interviews others, but what do you think about Kleber's vulnerability to getting hit?
Well, I think it's there.
Yeah, I think so. What do you think about the mental aspect? Is it pretty tough to overcome? But if it's Kleber, I think he'll be fine somehow. That was that. And this is this. Kleber seems like he'll be okay this time. He doesn't really dwell on things too much.
That's what I think. Of course, it's not exactly an advantage, but I don't think it's something that will affect the outcome of this match that much. So, Mikuru Asakura as well. Well, I really think it depends on how he fights. If he steps in and lands a big shot, I think he could knock him down, but he hasn't really thrown those kinds of strikes lately. That's right.
If his striking is like it was in the fight against Suzuki, I don't think it'll work. But even in the Suzuki fight, there were times when he was swinging hard, like when he landed counters as his opponent came in.
Well, it was just for a moment, though. Well, what do you think? I think Mikuru Asakura will win. How? By decision. By decision? I think he'll kick. Kleber, yeah. Inside low kicks, body kicks, high kicks and stuff. He'll rack up points like that, and his kicks are heavy, right? That's Asakura's style. He'll just keep kicking, waiting, and be like, come on. He wants to outpoint him. I think that's good. I want to see him fight like that. But for me, I think if he fights like that, he'll definitely lose. Kleber will definitely rush in, grab him, and that's for sure. If he fights like that, he'll definitely lose. I think it'll be tough if he doesn't take control of the pace from the start. But it's interesting, I'm pretty confident about that part. I'm looking forward to it. So, if he says he's going to focus on winning and actually fights like that, I think he'll get overwhelmed by Kleber.
I wonder what to think about the idea of just focusing on winning as a basic approach.
Well, I guess it means not taking unnecessary risks. That's what comes to mind when you talk about a fighter who's focused on winning.
In grappling, Keeping top position can be effective, but this approach is less successful when it comes to striking.
For example, if you fight someone like Yaman and you're focused on winning in striking, your plan would definitely be to avoid trading blows with him. You definitely shouldn't trade blows with a guy like that, since he'll come at you. There's no need to match his pace or go after him yourself. So I wonder what it really means to focus only on winning. I guess it means you shouldn't play into your opponent's strengths. Instead, you should thoroughly exploit their weaknesses. But then again, you often hear about people getting caught up in the moment and ending up trading blows anyway because it gets exciting. When you listen to fighter interviews and stuff, I wonder if focusing on winning means sticking to your plan coldly without getting caught up in the moment. Maybe it means not letting your emotions take over. Why are you asking me though? Well, it's a discussion, right? We're talking about what it really means to focus on winning. That's just what I think it is. Ah, I see. It's like not forcing a finish. I don't know, but I think fighters probably have that spirit where they want to prove they can win even in their opponent's strongest areas. But maybe the idea is not to do that. Just stick to your own strengths and focus on winning one-sidedly.
I see, so it's like you don't have to go for the knockout unnecessarily.
And also in Mikuru Asakura's case, he's been practicing jiu-jitsu lately, right? So I get it, but maybe it's about not engaging in that area. That makes sense. Absolutely break away and stand up.
I think I can do it, but if that's the case...
You have to deal damage with strikes, right? You have to deal damage with strikes. I don't think this strike-only style just to win is good, no, so...
Focusing on winning with strikes, I think that's what it means to focus on winning. Engaging in jiu-jitsu, just like always. But before, he tried to push forward and do something, and that's why he lost, right? I see. Chihiro Suzuki was able to push forward too, but this time... You said something at the beginning, didn't you? He was like, I'm getting stronger on the ground too. Well, people say all sorts of things, and after that he said he'd focus on winning, so I thought, oh, so he's gonna do it with striking. Well, he'll probably go with striking, but the real highlight is how he's going to fight with his striking. Well, I think it'll just be the usual Mikuru Asakura. He'll probably throw some kicks and land a counterpunch. That's how it usually goes, right?
Then he'll lose.
That's interesting. Well, that's why there's actually a real competition here.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, then he'll lose. Alright.
As long as Mikuru Asakura doesn't change his usual striking style, Kleber will have the advantage.
I get that he doesn't want to get grabbed, even from the very beginning. Even if he tries to keep his distance, he ends up getting grabbed anyway. So, I wonder how it'll go. I actually think a more aggressive striking style would suit him.
He should go on the offensive himself. That would definitely be better.
Were there matches like that, Mikuru? I think there were quite a few in the beginning.
I'm unsure if I can return, but I believe that was when he was strongest.
And Kleber, only the striker Kanahara has beaten him, and he won by keeping top position. If he can do that, that's the ideal. If he can do that, you know. Last time he tried to do that and got caught, so I wonder about it. I kind of think maybe that's not the best strategy.
Yeah, that's right. If he just repeat the same losing pattern as last time, then, you know, it's a bit...
Well, if I had to choose, I guess... I think it's Mikuru Asakura. In terms of skill set, well, that's true.
Yeah, that's how I feel. By the way, what are the odds for this? Kleber is 1.75 and Asakura is 1.85, so it's slightly...
It feels like it's slightly under, I see. Alright, this card is kind of fun. RIZIN events are really great every time, the scale is good, and the production is amazing.
They always put out content that's really enjoyable and you can watch it with peace of mind, so I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm excited and want to hear your predictions too. Please leave them in the comments. Thanks. We'll be live streaming the tournament starting from around the first round, so please join us. To ensure you don't miss it, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button too. Thank you. See you again soon. Bye-bye.